Welcome into Jungle Tales, a Pirate Baseball Podcast, episode 10, coming to you here live on a Monday night, Monday, January 13th. We're essentially 1 month from opening day for Division I baseball. However, the Division II ranks open on January 31st, and the Berry Buccaneers will be opening the season by welcoming 3 perennial top 25 programs to Miami and Fine Bloom Field. And they're going to have Wingate, Mount Olive, and Catawba, teams that are, like I said, always in the top 25, vying for regionals and Division II World Series appearances, coming to town. And, right now we're joined by the pitching coach at Berry. Why, you ask? Because he's none other than former Pirate leaver from the 2022 season, and that is Benny T. Welcome in, Ben Terwilliger.
What's up, Bubba? Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Appreciate the time. Congratulations on getting your first coaching job. And last year you were pitching for the Florence Yaws, and we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But let's start, and we'll work in reverse. We'll start off, with the here and the now with Berry University. Like I said, you're just 2.5 weeks from opening day. I know your head coach now was a volunteer assistant 4 years ago during your time there with the Berry Bucks, like I mentioned, in Miami Shores, Florida. Give us, the Cliff Notes version of exactly how you landed that job after you hung up the cleats.
Yeah, man. So DJ Price, I'm super thankful. Like I said, he gave me the opportunity of a lifetime. He called me at the end of our season when I was in Florence, and he said, "Listen," he said, "I got the head job. Like the head guy from last year, he left. He went to Charleston Southern, and he said, listen, he's like, I want you to be my pitching coach." And I was taken aback. So I was like, holy smokes! I was like, all right, and I knew last year was going to be my last year in pro ball. So I was making the best of everything I could. And then this great opportunity came, and I jumped at the bit. And I was like, hell yeah! I said, most definitely, DJ. I said, sign me up and get going. So that's kind of how everything unraveled from that side. But like I said, super excited, super humbled to for DJ to pick me to be the pitching coach and have his trust in me with the pitchers. So it's going to be a great year with him. I'm super excited.
And as we were discussing off the air, Berry is very fortunate to play in what amounts to the SEC of Division II.
Yeah, most definitely. Like I said, we're going to be battle tested every weekend. We got Tampa's in our conference. They won it. They won it all last year. I want to say they've won it, I think, 8 or 9 times. I could be wrong in that. Rollins been to back-to-back College World Series appearances. Lynn University won it in 2009. Nova Southeastern University won it, I believe, in 2016. So our conference it's a very competitive, very deep, older conference. So all of our guys are, mostly from the junior college level. Some of them are transfers, and then the rest are freshmen. But it really is a very older conference, and that's what makes it so special. Because every weekend, you got guys rolling out low to mid 90s Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's very much like a Northern Division I conference, but we play it here in the South.
Yeah, folks, if you're just tuning in, you're watching Jungle Tales, a Pirate Baseball podcast. We're joined by former East Carolina reliever Benny T, better known, or as he's better known as, Ben Terwilliger, currently the pitching coach at Berry University. So, like I mentioned, one of those teams that you play on opening weekend is the Catawba Indians, and it's a familiar face for Pirate fans on that Catawba team at shortstop, and that is, of course, Nate Chrisman. So that's something there. And then also, you mentioned Rollins College. East Carolina, as I'm sure you may be aware, got a transfer from Rollins. He played for the Greenville Yard Gnomes last summer. Jack Herring. Were you aware of that?
I was, yeah, I saw that up because I was looking at East Carolina's roster this fall, and I was going through it, and I was like, oh damn, I was like, no way. I said they got a kid from Rollins, but yeah, that's awesome. I wish him nothing but the best, and he's gonna have a great time up there. They historically East Carolina's been one of the best teams in the country. He's been a part of a winning championship team down at Rollins, and now he's going to be part of a winning championship team up in East Carolina. So I think he's going to fit in right away.
Yeah, I know you certainly thoroughly enjoyed your 1 year in the purple and gold, and we'll dive into that here in a few minutes. But before we do, I know you're from Elmira, New York, and before you venture down south to play some baseball at Berry, you had the opportunity to go to the D1 ranks for the Maine Black Bears. So, but before you talk about that recruitment and your path to Maine, just tell us a little about your childhood. Did you play anything besides baseball? If so, what sports? And when did you really hone in on baseball and take it from there as far as the way you ended up a black bear?
Yeah, I played all kinds of sports. My brother and I, growing up all throughout high school. My dad was a grade school phys ed teacher, so he introduced us to literally every sport known to man. And it was great. My dad, he played college basketball for a year, so he's a basketball guy. And my brother and I just kind of latched on to baseball. There's no really rhyme or reason why we did. We just fell in love with it as a young age. I'm sure my brother fell in love with it, and I was like, oh, my brother likes it, and so I'll go and like it as well. So that's kind of how everything got started. Played when I was 4. Well, started playing t-ball when I was 4. Um, but yeah, we played all kinds of sports. Both my brother and I, we were both 3 sport athletes, all going up through high school. We played soccer, basketball, and baseball. I did a year of track as well, indoor track. I tried to get faster. I think I maybe got like a tenth of a second faster in my 60. But other than that, I remained this pretty the same speed. But yeah, we were always involved in sports, always had stuff to do, like to keep busy. So yeah, that's what we had to do, because like I said, it's in New York. You can't play baseball year round up there, unfortunately. And I'm glad we didn't. It's a big thing too, especially being down here in Miami. All these kids have just played baseball their whole entire life, which is great. But I'm always more of a fan of the dual sport, or the 3 sport athletes, because they involve other hand-eye coordination, footwork, other things of that nature to really be the complete athlete.
Yeah, that's been something that we've kind of indirectly discussed with previous guests, be it Chris Holba, or otherwise. And I know Coach Godwin. He's said down through the years he's a huge fan of not specializing, at least until you get late, middle, or early high school. And then if the guy wants to play multiple sports, then great. He'd rather have a guy, and if everything's equal, he would like to get that guy that plays multiple sports as opposed to the one that just specializes in baseball.
Yeah, no, 100%. The just with the motor function with everything is, like I said, if a kid's playing soccer, like, it was good for footwork, obviously endurance, and making sure that you're conditioned. And then in basketball, you're constantly jumping, going one way, going another, another hand-eye coordination thing, shooting a basket. And like I said, everything kind of translates to baseball. Baseball, in my opinion, is probably you have to have the best hand-eye coordination in order to play. But soccer and basketball definitely helped me, enhance my skill for baseball.
And Coach Godwin, of course, as you may have heard during your time in East Carolina, he was actually in addition to playing basketball for his dad, he was also a high school quarterback. And here a moment ago, I referenced our conversation with Chris Holba. We also had Carter Cunningham on within the last few days, and Carter played a lot of hockey growing up before he decided to focus on baseball.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just the toughness element, and that was one of the things that Coach Godwin referenced with, be it football or hockey.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. If you play multiple sports, doesn't matter what sport it is, you have to stick to a schedule. You got to get your homework done. You're going to practice, you're going to games, whatever it might be. And it really does prepare you for the college level of competing in collegiate athletics, because, like I said, if you can't do it at the high school level, you're going to really struggle at the college level. But yeah, definitely playing other sports is really big.
Before you, as you see there on the screen for our viewers, uh, you wound up beginning your collegiate career for the Maine Black Bears, a very tradition-rich baseball program. But who else did you consider before you wound up at Maine?
So I had some other visits. I went on a visit to Boston College. Went on a visit to St. John's. They're in the Big East, the Red Storm, and then went on a visit to Seton Hall, who is also in the Big East. Those three, and then Maine were really the four that I was talking to. Um, like I said, St. John's, Seton Hall, and Boston College. I went in to visit. The coaches needed to see me play a little bit more, they said, in order to, throw athletic money out. And then Maine kind of came out of the woodwork and was just like, yeah, listen, we like you. We saw you here, and we want to offer you a scholarship. They gave me a deadline on it, and it was too good to not take right there and then. So I ended up committing right there on the day.
And as you also see there on the screen for our viewers, you're a two-way guy, and we got
Yeah.
to see you nearly go yard at Cincinnati, and I have some more specific questions about that RBI double, if I'm remembering that correctly, um, up at Cincinnati. But you know, describe that time with Maine, and you know, were you more so a pitcher, or were you more of a position player, or how did that go?
So they recruited me as a third baseman. They had an idea that I could pitch, but they more or less recruited me as a third baseman. Um, there was a kid that was a junior that was ahead of me, and he had a great year. I want to say he had above 300, and he had like 15 jacks. So they're planning on him um, getting drafted that year. Unfortunately, he didn't, so he came back for his senior year, which I got to learn from him other again. But yeah, I just struggled at the plate. I was thinking a lot. Didn't have the success that I used to with hitting. The approach and everything kind of got a little bit complicated for me. So then, I made the decision to enter the transfer portal for the first time back when the transfer portal was, what the transfer portal is now. It was a little bit more of a harder process to get into, and a little bit more different, like I said, than it is now. But yeah, then I ended up at Barry University. I two-wayed for the first year. It didn't go great either. I had a great fall, but like I said, I was thinking too much at the plate. That was always my one thing that I needed to work on was thinking too much when I was up there, rather than just saying see ball, hit ball, like my dad would always say. But and then fast forward to the next year was COVID, and the pitchers and the hitters couldn't be on the field at the same time. So the head coach of Barry, Juan Renero, he's like, listen, he said, I've never had to do this, but you need to pick one right now, because you can't be on the same field, or you can't be on the field at the same time as the hitters or pitchers. So, I ended up picking pitching because that was what was going well for the past couple of years, and I'm glad I did. It worked out pretty well in my favor.
Not to get too far into the weeds, but before you wound up at Barry, you know, what was that process? Someone that had Northeast roots and had been at Maine. What were the connections, and how did you wind up a Barry Buccaneer?
So my brother played Division II baseball at Adelphi University. It's located right outside of New York City, and every year they would have a Florida trip, and they'd go down to play like Lynn, Palm Beach Atlantic, Barry, all those teams, and um, and honestly, I always told my parents, I said for school, I wanted to head down south just because of the weather. And what did I do? I went more north. I didn't think it was possible, but went to the northernmost Division I in the continental United States. But after leaving Maine, I literally was talking to my parents. I was like, listen, I just want, they're like, you love palm trees, right? And I was like, yeah. They're like, all right, then start looking at schools in Florida. So I was like, all right. So I basically emailed every single school in the Sunshine State Conference. I want to say the Peach Belt and the GSC, and set up workouts at a bunch of them. And basically, we are going to start from the bottom and work our way up. I had a workout at Barry, had a workout the next day at St. Leo. The following day was going to be in Columbus State at Georgia, and then following with USC Aiken. on the fourth day. So my dad and I, flew down to Miami to start and had a really good workout. And Coach Renaro really liked what he saw, and he's like, "Listen, you have to make a decision right now. Either yes or no." And like I said, I fell in love with the campus. Fell in love with the coaching staff, and the offer was something that, again, I couldn't turn down. So that's how I ended up at Barry Buck, and had to call all the other coaches, which wasn't easy. They were pretty mad, that I didn't give them a chance. But I'm glad I went to Barry. I'm very glad it shaped me into the person I am today. Some of my lifelong friends I met there. Some guys that'll be in the wedding one day.
Once you made that decision, once you had exhausted, well, not exhausted your eligibility, but graduated a Barry Buck and made the decision to enter the transfer portal, and you actually had 2 years of eligibility remaining. But what drew you to East Carolina, and how did you wind up a Pirate?
So that was kind of an interesting process too. So I was actually down here way before I went to the MLB Draft League. 'Cause I was playing there for the summer, and I was in the portal, and it was, I want to say it was like towards the end of the season, because Coach Renaro, he's like, "Listen," he's like, "Are you planning on coming back next year?" This and that, and I didn't plan on heading back, because they didn't have my graduate major at the time. So I was like, "No," I said, I'm gonna go somewhere else, because my graduate major, Barry doesn't have it. He's like, "Okay, no problem." So I get put in the transfer portal. Schools are reaching out, and I want to say like the first couple were some Division Ones, and like FAU reached out, which is literally right up the road, and Virginia Tech reached out as well. I went and bit on visits both to FAU and Virginia Tech. Funny enough, my girlfriend, she played basketball at FAU, so that was, another hard decision, to either go to FAU or East Carolina. But to rewind a little bit, I was throwing at FAU one day, on the field by myself, and I just get this call from this Maryland number, and I answer it, and it's Coach Palumbo, and he's like, "Yeah, hey, Coach Palumbo, East Carolina University," and we got talking, and he was telling me everything about it. Of course, I knew everything about East Carolina, just because, being in college baseball, that they're one of the top 10 programs in the country every single year. So it was weird, because he got my video in a roundabout way. I was at home actually recording a video for, USF. USF was also in the mix, um, to send out, and the guy that was helping me record, he was good friends with a head coach in the PSAC, which is a Division II league in Pennsylvania. And that guy sent it to a head coach there, and then that coach sent it to, I believe, Coach Palumbo's brother, and then Coach Palumbo's brother sent it to him, and that's how kind of we got connected. So it was a super super cool and, unique way of us connecting, but I wouldn't want to change anything of it for the world.
Like you said, as you would guess, someone that is within college baseball, you're very aware of the success that the East Carolina program was having, hosting regionals, going to super regionals. And I can imagine, the way you perked up when you got that call from Coach Palumbo, and you had an excellent one season with the Pirates in 2022. That year, you went 2-0, had 5 saves, a 3.8 ERA, and surrendered just 25 hits in 35 innings while striking out 46. And you held opponents to less than 200, 198 to be exact, at the plate. And it didn't take long. And that opening weekend, it it was very atypical. As you guys, we were swept by the Bryant Bulldogs. However, and in your first outing as a Pirate, you went an inning in 2/3 and struck out 4 and didn't walk a batter. And um, like I said, 1 2/3 of shutout in hitless relief. What are your memories of that outing? Your first time pitching at Clark LeClaire Stadium?
Oh my God, yeah, no, it was awesome. I know my parents were in the stands. As they refer to it, they're like, "Listen, you're playing big boy baseball now." Coming from, Division 2 to East Carolina. But it was really overwhelming, at first, because it's like, all right, you got all these people there. It's fun. It's this, but you just have to stay within yourself. You got to remember to breathe. Um, and that all these fans are basically, we're all against the other team, so all of them are on your side. Because sometimes, like I said, you look up in the stands and you're just like, holy smokes, look at all these people here. And then you go and focus on the batter, but honestly, just getting in there and not really caring who was in the box. I always just, every day, I walked out there with something to prove, because I knew I came from a Division 2 school. So I was like, listen, I came from a Division 2. Every day is basically going to be a tryout for me, because this can get taken at any moment. So my job was just, at whatever it takes, just compete and to have that bulldog 1v1 mindset, and that's really what propelled me through the year.
One of the things that Pirate Nation saw very quickly was the way you display some emotion while pitching. Is that something that was always your demeanor? Whether it was on the mound, or just playing sports in general.
Well, 100%. Like I said, when I was little, God, I would hate to lose. And I would be a really bad sore loser. I remember my mom, she would march me down to, like, my teammates and opposing coaches when I was young, and she'd make me apologize to them for the way I acted, just because, we lost. I was such a sore loser as a kid. I mean, I'm super thankful that my mom, made me do that, because it made me into the person I was today. But it really is a sign of a true competitor, trying to win at any costs. And just being at East Carolina, like I said, it's instilled in us to win, and to go out there and be the best version of you at all times. And yeah, that was, what was the question again? I got off on a tangent.
Oh, no problem. I was just you pretty much answered it. Just just that regarding your demeanor, and if that had always been your demeanor, whether you were playing baseball, basketball, and just a fiery competitor, and a guy that exhibited a lot of emotion on the field or court.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like I said, it's very hard for me to compete in a public setting with, people I know, because I want to win so bad. And even if it's like, cornhole, or, some stupid, like, ring toss game, I literally, like, do anything I can to win. It's like I have one competitive mode, and there's not like a second, like, a little bit lesser of it. But yeah, I've always been one to, be pumped up about everything I do. And like I said, it's just every time I got on that mound, it was 1v1. It was me versus the hitter, and I knew that every time I was going to go and own the hitter. It wasn't that he was never going to own me, but if he beat me, it was because I beat myself. And I I took it to heart. Whenever a kid got a hit on me, I'm like, all right, this kid thinks he's better than me. Screw that. Here it is, next at bat, and you go right at him, or the next batter. And rather better terms. But yeah, that's honestly just the way I carried myself. Like I said, I didn't have the velocity of 95 plus, but what I did was just, I just kind of had a compete fastball, and just went out there, no matter what, whoever was in the box, that I just told myself that I was better than them.
Before we go any further into that 2022 season, going in reverse a little bit with your arrival to the East Carolina program, making that jump. Um, Describe what the fall was like. And as you know, Coach Godwin is super, big on culture, and and what that means to the program, and it has been, fairly reluctant to bring in just anyone, no matter how talented, from the transfer portal. Very carefully, vetting guys like you always do, but even more so on those guys that are not high school guys that you have not had a chance to develop a relationship with for as long. Um, so how did that go for you, getting to know Coach Godwin, and as well as obviously Austin Knight, your pitching coach, and that transition?
Oh man, the fall was hard. The fall was probably one of the hardest falls I've had playing college baseball. But it was worth it. All the stuff that we did really made you into a competitor and a warrior. Um, and like I said, it just made everything that we did. that much more easy to compete because we already did it in the fall, no matter what it was. And with me, with just competing, it's, whatever it was, if it was rock, paper, scissors, shoot, or, the 300s at 5 a.m. or mission week, I always had it in the back of my head that I was going to beat, everyone. Obviously it didn't happen all the time, but I always held myself to that standard, because I didn't like to lose. But yeah, the fall was really difficult, especially coming from Division II, where we didn't have, um, weight programs like that, the conditioning tests and all that kind of good stuff, so it was a shock when I got there, but I knew that I could handle it. Everything happens for a reason, and there was a reason that, I was able to play East Carolina. um but other than that, man, it was fun. Like I said, it was a dream of mine to play Division I baseball at the highest level. um and to be able to play with a bunch of great teammates and have great coaches around me, it was truly something unforgettable.
So essentially halfway through that season, you guys had just dropped a Friday night game at Cincinnati, 14-13. I mean, a very unusual spot for East Carolina baseball at that juncture of a season. And from that point, you really started to develop some momentum. You won the final two games of that series. You had Ryder Giles, um, go into that weekend rotation. Eventually, the Friday role, really pitched well, and so it was a situation where no matter what role guys were in, whether it was on the mound or otherwise, guys really rose to the occasion, and you put together a 20-game win streak. Um, Describe that from your eyes.
Yeah, that was incredible, man. It was something I'll never forget. I honestly thought, and I think you can probably ask anybody on the team, and they'd think the same thing, that we weren't going to lose another game. I was like, when we were winning, when we won the conference tournament like 16 in a row, and then we went through the regional, and beat Virginia in the 2-1 game. I was like, there's no way. I said we're winning it all. I said it doesn't matter who we are. I said the way that we're playing baseball right now, it's just we're seeing red as soon as we step onto that field, and we're going to attack every opponent and lay the first hit, and that's what we did. But I want to say after the 16th win, which was the conference tournament, I was like, we're not winning or we're not losing another game the rest of the year. And I truly thought at that moment, I was like, we're winning the national championship, which I've never had that feeling before. But all the guys, like I said, they bought into their role, whatever it was. We really didn't have, a true Friday guy, or a true rotation. We just had a bunch of gritty guys that were going out there and closing out innings. It didn't matter, who it was, what inning it was. It was, you had a job, you had to go out there, you had to close out this inning, and then if you were going out back out for the second inning, you had to do the same thing. Or if somebody was coming to pick you up, you knew that they were going to do it. Um, but yeah, it was kind of, we had to come to Jesus moment, after the Cincinnati series, when we were 14-13, because I want to say we started like 1-6 off the year too, which wasn't a great start. And everybody was kind of panicking. We were trying to still find our footing. And but yeah, after that Cincinnati series, we really found our footing and took off.
Yeah, like you said, swept by Bryant to start the year, and then um, it seems like I'm trying to remember if you beat Campbell or not, but then you dropped the first two to North Carolina, but got a really big win against the Tar Heels at Clark LeClaire in a game. That's when you still had the I mean, it was unbelievably cold evening there at Clark LeClaire, and we found a way to get it done, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You're right in that. We
Jake
we
Hunter
beat.
on the mound, maybe.
Yes.
It seems
Yep.
like it.
Yep, and we won. We beat Campbell on that. I think it was a Tuesday game.
Right.
Yeah, that was the first win of the year. And but yeah, the series against Carolina was super fun too. Like I said, hometown, or not hometown, but same state, in-state rival. Those games are always fun.
Definitely are, and from someone who was only there 1 year and originally from New York, what were your favorite games to pitch in? Obviously the Tex. I mean, you think of the regional and the super regional, but outside of those, regular season, I'm guessing North Carolina, NC State.
Oh yeah, those games were always fun to pitch in. I never pitched against NC State, but I pitched against Carolina and Duke.
Okay.
Those are great opponents to go up to. Because that they just with basketball. You always hear North Carolina, Duke. Now you're playing them in baseball. You always knew that their name carried weight. So it was really fun to compete against those guys. They have great programs. They always put up a great battle, and Campbell University too, man. That was, you knew that whenever they were coming to town or we were going to them, that they were throwing everything they had at us. So that was kind of cool too. Every week, we had a bullseye on our back. Everybody was giving their all against us because they knew they had to in order to win. They played up to our level of skill, and it was really fun.
One of your outings that I really recall vividly was against Coastal Carolina. You went 3 innings of shutout baseball, surrendering just a hit, striking out 4, and not walking a batter in that regional, which the Pirates, of course, won to advance to the Super against Texas.
Yeah, that outing was fun, man. Yeah, that was it was something, like I said, I definitely never experienced before. Playing postseason college baseball, and that's one of the reasons why I went to East Carolina. My first 4 years, um, we never made, or I never made the postseason. And I was like, listen, for my last 2 years, I want to go somewhere where they have success in the postseason, to live out dreams and to make memories that are going to last a lifetime. But yeah, man, that Coastal Series was fun. They were a great team. That they ended up beating us on that Sunday, which snapped our streak. But yeah, they were a very gritty team. Coach Gilmore, he won it back in 2016. You always knew that whenever Coastal was coming to a town, they're another baseball team that could compete in a Power Five conference, like us at East Carolina. So you always knew that it was going to be a battle. But yeah, that regional was something I'll never forget.
Exactly. I think it was maybe perhaps 2016 when the Chanticleers won that national title, and and that's something that you know East Carolina fans have long awaited. And when that happened, if any Pirate fan did doubt, then I think that removed all doubt that we can undoubtedly get it done. And the Pirates and Chanticleers will square off in a weekend series this year. These are two programs that have met several times down through the years, be it in the regular season or the postseason. But I really don't think that we've ever met on the weekend. If we have, it's been a very long time. So that will be a heck of a series at Clark LeClaire, and then next year we'll travel down to Conway.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's big time for the schedule. They're, like you said, historically they're a great program. They're definitely going to have a high RPI, and the place is going to be jam packed too. College baseball runs through the Carolinas, so and everybody knows that now. So that series is going to be, man. I wish I could go in it and attend that series because it's going to be popping. I know a lot of people are going to be there, for this series this year, and then next year when they go to Conway. I've seen pictures of their ballpark, and we actually have a kid that played here at Barry last year. He's going to be the starting third baseman for them this year at Coastal Carolina.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, I've seen pictures of the park and all that kind of good stuff, and they pack it out too. So two great stadiums for college baseball atmosphere, that's for sure.
I attended the regional down there in 2008, but the ballpark that you're referencing was not built to several years later. But I look forward to making that trip down there next year, and I know a lot of Pirate fans will as well. Make a long weekend of it. So before we move on from your college career, you've referenced Pirate Nation and the awesome atmosphere at Clark LeClaire Stadium in the jungle. And I know you'd seen it on TV prior to becoming a Pirate, and then once it became reality, and you had the chance to play a season in front of those fans, um, you've talked about how awesome it was. You see there after one of your excellent outings with the jungle jump in left field with the megaphone crew, and then also a picture that you took with some young Pirate fans. Um, what does Pirate Nation mean to you?
Oh my gosh, they mean everything. You know, they welcomed me in with open arms, and it was really cool because everybody was like, "Listen, there's people that show up to practice, this and that." And I want to say the first fan I met, I think he's listening right now, Al Glover. He was the first guy that I met, and I want to say I was talking to him for maybe like 10 or 15 minutes. He knew everything about me. He's like, "Hey, listen, if you ever want, dinner, this and that," he said, I have the guys over all the time, and we chop it up and talk and just have a great time. And I was like, holy smokes. I said, that's really cool. I haven't even been here for more than more than 2 weeks, and someone is inviting me into their home for a meal, and that's when I could tell that it was a different atmosphere, and the family environment that really the fans have, because and Greenville, that's it. East Carolina is it. So everybody treats you like almost a celebrity, which is super cool. Because you get that college town, um, or the celebrity feel in a college town. Like I said, I was only there for 1 year, but the guys that were there for 4 years were extremely lucky. And extremely known throughout the community. But yeah, Pirate Nation is unmatched for sure. And I will take that to my grave. It doesn't matter what fan base they go up against in college baseball, they're going to hold their own. And I know we're not in a Power Five conference, but they are better than a lot of Power Five baseball fan bases. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And that's something that Carter Cunningham, as well as Chris Holba, and I were discussing just how they both were saying, when they were recruited, and also if they were the ones doing the recruiting, that, uh, as a player, when recruits were on campus, that they really emphasized the atmosphere at Clark LeClaire Stadium in the jungle, and how it's one of the elite atmospheres in college baseball. And you look at it year in, year out. I mean, we've led the state of North Carolina in attendance for something like 25 years in a row, but nationally, we're right there in the top 15 year in, year out.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Like I said, the fans, they don't realize, but they help us win games. Being loud and cheering at every moment. Whenever we have momentum, letting the other team know too. It's daunting for an opposing team to come in and all of a sudden you got 5,000, 6,000 people, screaming against you, doing this and that and supporting the home team. It makes it for a very, very tough place to win, because you have to battle that, but then you have to battle us on the field as well, which we're just a bunch of tough, gritty dudes that are just going out there day in, day and out, getting the job done no matter what. So they really had to win two battles, but yeah, the crowd and the fans definitely help win in a lot of games throughout the season.
Following that heartbreaking end to the 2022 season, you did have the option of returning for 2023. What went into going ahead and entering pro ball?
So a lot went into it. I was talking to my parents a lot, and obviously my age is a factor. And my goal ever since I was a little kid was to, play baseball and get paid for it. And I was lucky to do so, in independent baseball because of the MLB draft. Unfortunately, did get cut by 20 rounds. Um, but yeah, I started my journey in independent baseball. I knew that I had to immediately get my foot in the door no matter what, because if I wanted a shot at affiliated ball, my age was a factor, and I was getting older by the second in the day. And I knew that, you know, unless I was throwing mid to upper 90s, it was going to be difficult for me to get a shot. So that's when, I saw an opportunity, and I had to go and pursue it.
So you had two very good seasons with the Florence Yaws, and during your time there in Florence, you had the chance to reunite with some Pirates and Carter Spivey, and then also Big Lane Hoover.
That's right. Yeah, Lane and I were actually we lived together with the same host family, Barb and Claude Sullivan. They're awesome. They're super great people. But yeah, we lived together in Florence, which is really cool. It was able to connect after about a year of being apart. But just being teammates again. Seeing his big smile and face all day. He's one of the best teammates I've ever had. The most positive, likable dude. But it was great getting another season with him and Spivey as well. He was a late addition to the team, but he was a very very um how can I say it, very important addition to the team as well because he I want to say like his first three starts he gave up maybe like 12 hits or something. He was shoving for the first three, and I want to say then against Evansville Otters, I want to say he threw like 25 no hit innings against them, and I was like, holy smokes, Spike! I was like, dude, if you keep doing this, I'm like, you're gonna have a shot. So we talked about that a bunch, and he did get his shot, which is awesome. I'm head over heels for him. He's had a great year this past year in High A. His team, I think, won the High A championship too, which is awesome. It's going to be interesting to see where they place him this year after spring training. But I hope they put him in Double A, and hopefully he gets a shot one day with Big Gav up on the big club.
Yeah, I think the Lake County Captains,
Yes. Yep.
like you were saying, the high A affiliate of the Cleveland Guardians, and Spivey was someone that overcame pretty immense amount of adversity, you know, early in his pirate career, and but he stuck it out. He became the American Athletic Conference Pitcher of the Year, and we'll never forget the performance he had on Monday against Coastal Carolina in Game 7 of the regional, and you couldn't help but to be so happy for him to get that opportunity in unaffiliated pro ball there with the independent leagues, Florence Yaws, and I was thrilled for him when he signed with the Guardians organization. So following the 2024 season, or actually perhaps before it ended, you said you knew it was going to be your last, and then that's when you made that decision to get into coaching, and you were very fortunate to get that call from your former volunteer assistant down at Berry.
Yeah, most definitely. I knew it was going to be my last. I wanted to have a good last run at it. The biggest thing with me was always making sure that I was going to be the one to say, it was over. I didn't want anybody else to tell me to stop playing. That was the number one most important thing for me. And unfortunately, as well, I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in July. It was right after. It was actually I started getting pretty bad symptoms at the All-Star game, which was up in Quebec City. Went to the doctor and unfortunately got diagnosed with type 1. My pancreas just shut down out of nowhere. So that was another big factor, big health factor going into making the decision to not play anymore. Just because of, I do need insulin. I wear an insulin pump. And the price of insulin pumps and things like that. Unfortunately, independent ball doesn't give you insurance. But getting a real job, coaching and entering the job world, they fortunately do offer insurance, which makes it a little bit more affordable. But yeah, that's the route I had to go and take. Like I said, it helped me aided, helped me aid in making the decision. But I knew, talking to my parents at the beginning of the year, I was like, this is gonna be my last year. I'm gonna give it one last go around, and if anything happens, great. But if anything doesn't, I'm super happy and thankful for how far I made it, and definitely made some lifelong memories and friends.
Now that you've been through a fall practice, and then obviously off-season workouts, and you've just begun, as you mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, official practice here this spring, if you will, even though it's really winter, but such as the college baseball schedule. um, what are those things that you learn, be it from Austin Knight or other coaches, that you're really going to kind of piece together to develop your philosophy and or that philosophy that you have already developed that you're implementing with your pitchers there at Berry?
Honestly, just to be more prepared than the other team, you know, and to get repetitions, and have intent in everything that we do. You know, I set up a pretty good schedule for the guys to make sure that, you know, everything is done with intent. You know, everything is done with competition. And you know, no matter what we do, whether it's a bullpen, whether it's picks, you know, whether it's we're holding guys at first, or PFPs or bunt Ds, that everything is taken 100% with 100% effort and 100% focus, because it's going to be those little things in a game that can, you know, make a team win or lose. You know, somebody bunts, they throw the ball away, or they didn't know what bunt play was on, you know, and crap hits the fan, and you know, you go on to lose that game. But honestly, just instilling in the kids, you know, what the standard is to the program, what we expect, um, how we expect them to act, and you know, to hold themselves in the field, hustling everywhere, and just being really descriptive with everything. And like I said, with the practice plan, letting them know every minute of the day, you know, what they have, so that nobody, you know, really asks questions, and everything runs pretty smoothly. You know, there's definitely days I question. I'm like, you know, am I doing enough with the guys, this and that? But I think that's what's gonna, you know, propel me to be a great coach, you know, and I'm thankfully to learn from some of the best coaches that I've had throughout my collegiate career. You know, and they've definitely carved me into the coach that I am today.
Tell us a little about the guys that you're having the opportunity to coach, and what your staff looks like going into the 2025 season.
Yeah, so our staff this year, is filled with a bunch of juniors. I want to say we have two, or we have two seniors that are going to be graduating next year, but everybody else is going to be coming back. So it's going to be really fun. The biggest thing though is that these guys don't really have a lot of experience in this conference, because a lot of them are transfers or Division I bounce backs, or kids that have been with Barry, and have played on the JV team with Barry. But I just view us as still a juggernaut. You know, the way that our coaching staff instills competing and winning everything no matter what. And as long as we get 27 outs quicker than the other team and score more runs, that we win a baseball game. You know, it doesn't matter if you throw, you know, 95 or 65. As long as you get outs and we score and we do the correct things to win, that we're going to be a really good baseball team. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just going in there and competing, you know, because as everybody knows, the best team always doesn't win. It's the team that wants it more, and the team that just goes to the wall every single day, or every single minute during that game, and competing. That's the biggest thing with college baseball. Obviously, you know, you need some skill, to get your foot in the door. But at the end of the day, if you know how to compete and you know how to win, you're really going to be successful in college baseball. And like I said, all these guys in this team, you know, Division II is kind of referred to as the land of the misfit toys. You know, you're not quite good enough for Division I yet, but you're a little bit better than Division III. So the kids carry that chip on their shoulder all the time, which is great. You know, and myself being there as well, I couldn't agree more. And you know, they do have the edge to them, because they're like, okay, you know, Division II, yeah, you know, our Division II conference is comparable to a Northern Division I conference, and the kids understand that. You know, we don't get a lot of stuff, gear, this and that, um, and you know, sometimes the travels hard, and like I said, the kids embrace it and they love it, and they come to the field every day wanting to get better and wanting to learn. So I think that's what's going to be the biggest benefactor for us in separating from the pack.
Before we go to the around the horn segment, to wrap up this conversation, had a couple of comments I wanted to get to here. One from Mike Radford. He says that he recalls you feigning the side against someone, but it was a big scenario situation in the game. Wish you could have been around one more year. Hello to your parents. Mike Radford, aka the old man cheerleader there above the Pirates third base dugout.
Mike, what's up, dude? Thanks for the nice words, man. I'll definitely pass on the words to my parents. Yeah, I can't remember what series that was. I want to say it might have been Campbell.
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
I know the midweek game against Campbell. As Al Glover chimed in, we won convincingly at Campbell, but we were in a very close game at Clark LeClaire, and I remember preparing for this interview. I saw some highlights of you pitching very well that night against the Camels at home.
Yeah, most definitely. Yep, that was one of the times, where I had a lot of success, later on in the year, and that's definitely one of the moments that I'll never forget too. That was a super big game. It was filled with energy. We wanted it, they wanted it, but it was a great college baseball game at the end of the year, or at the end of the day, and overall just great for the game.
Yeah, Campbell really had it rolling, and now Justin Hare, a few seasons later, is the head coach at Ohio State. Very intrigued to see how he does there. Um, and then I'm inadvertently skipped over this, the ECU baseball ring ceremony during the fall of 2022, um, receiving those championship rings, for that season, and having the chance to have your family there.
Yeah, that was awesome. It truly was a special moment. Because like I said, that was the first time that I honestly kind of won anything that mattered. We won in high school, and it was big in the moment, but winning things at the collegiate level and winning things at the professional level are, triumph everything. But yeah, just to have their support, and for them to be there was awesome. It was a great time to see all the guys, to connect with them again, to be back in Greenville, especially at a football game. It was awesome. It was an awesome weekend, um, and just can't say enough good things about East Carolina in that weekend.
Okay, so our around the horn segment, if you're not familiar with it, it's just a speed round basically. I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and then of course the questions that I'll ask about your favorite MLB player, your favorite MLB team. That could be during your childhood, and or currently. So we'll start off. Excuse me. Favorite baseball movie.
Favorite baseball movie? I would have to say Bull Durham.
Great choice. Um, Superstitions, and then if so, what are those superstitions?
I was never into superstitions. I would always have like a routine, and I would do the same routine every single day. When I got to the baseball field, but it never really was superstitious. It was just, what I did, stretching wise, I do the same stretches, same order, and just it just kind of kept everything in a routine to make sure everything was familiar. But yeah, nothing really superstitious.
I agree, and that's been the consensus so far. How important routines are, because of like you said, keeping things familiar, and then just the consistency, so on and so forth. But not superstitions. So maybe we're disproving, what a lot of people say about baseball players. But favorite MLB player.
Oh, geez, that's a tough one. When I was growing up, my favorite MLB player was A-Rod, and then he got busted for steroids. So I had to change that pretty quick. And then it definitely went to Derek Jeter. Living in New York, seeing all his success and his character and how he carried himself was pretty cool. But now, honestly, I'd have to say. It's super hard, man. I mean, what Shohei does is really unbelievable. He's a unicorn in the game. It's fun to watch him because, like I said, you never know when it's his last year, and we can't take anything for granted. But he's. I don't think we'll ever get another Shohei. So definitely probably him.
Yeah, definitely. Totally understand, where you're coming from with that answer, because he essentially is the modern day Babe Ruth, with the way with his success on the mound and also at the plate. Favorite MLB team? I'm guessing the Yankees.
So it was the Yankees, yeah, growing up, and then they got Kevin Youkilis, and oh my gosh, he was like my arch nemesis because he was on Boston, and I just remember he would always tear up the Yankees. I would have to say now probably the Miami Marlins. My brother coaches for the Marlins. He helped coach at JJC last year, which was a cool connection. But yeah, probably the Marlins right now.
Nice. And you got a former Pirate catcher and teammate of Cliff Godwin, Clayton McCullough, is the new manager of the Marlins. And then, of course, Connor Norby, once he got the call up, from Jacksonville, he went on a tear late last season, and look forward to seeing what Norb's first full season at the big league level will hold. Playing for Clayton McCullough in Miami.
Yeah, most definitely. It's really cool to see, Miami, the Miami City kind of turn into, almost like a mini Greenville. You got a bunch of guys that played at East Carolina baseball, and I think it's really going to help propel them in the right direction and the winning direction, because both those two guys went through the program, and they know how to win. So I'm excited to see what Norbs does in his first full year. I'm sure he's going to tear it up just like he did this past year. He's one of the best pure hitters I've ever seen. And then Clayton McCullough, I wish him nothing but the best as well, for his first opportunity to be a skipper for MLB club.
Final question: your favorite restaurant in Greenville?
I would have to probably say Nino's. Nino's, that place was delicious. Um, I would go there a lot. Whenever my family would come to town, we would go there. It's between them and Sup Dogs. The Sup Dogs, the Sup Crushes, the food that they have there was awesome too. But I would have to say Nino's takes the cake.
Nice. I've asked this question 3 times. I've got 3 different answers. Previously, we got Omar's and then also Altavola.
For Omar and Ottavola for what?
For a favorite restaurant.
Were those restaurants in Greenville?
Yep. And so that's the thing. Even though it's a college town, there's an excellent selection of restaurants in Greenville, and yeah, like I was saying, those were the answers of Chris Holba, and then most recently Carter Cunningham. I believe it was Carter that said Altavola, but yeah, Sup Dogs is definitely one of the more common responses, and I'm not familiar with Nina, so I need to try that out myself.
Yeah,
What,
most
what, what,
definitely.
what, what-
They got great Italian food.
I think you may have just mentioned this. What's your go-to item on the menu?
Go to it's got to
Yeah,
be the penne alla vodka with chicken. Got to.
gotcha. So really appreciate the visit, spending nearly an hour with us. Best of luck on this season with Barry, and we'll certainly keep an eye on you from afar, as I know you will do the same with the Pirates. Um, but as we wrap up this conversation, do you have a final message for Pirate Nation?
Just keep being you guys. You guys are one of a kind. Nobody matches the energy that you bring every day when you come to Clark LeClaire. The players are truly lucky to have the support of you guys throughout the season. I've been to 3 different colleges, played against a bunch at when I was at East Carolina, and nothing matches you guys. There's surely unmatched in every component of the true fan, and it's something those guys will remember for the rest of their life.
No doubt. What very well said. Again, Benny T, appreciate the time, and best of luck with Barry. And we look forward to having you back on the show sometime down the road.
Most definitely. Thanks, Bub. I really appreciate you having me on, man. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Pirate Nation, that is former East Carolina relief pitcher and the pitching coach at Barry University. A very good D2 program down in Miami. Ben Terwilliger, and all the best to him personally, but then also the Bucks as they move into the 2025 season, beginning on January 31st. They'll be kicking things off. Unbelievable first weekend. With Wingate, Catawba, and Mount Olive. Don't think it's necessarily in that order, but 3 very tradition-rich programs in their own right, and teams that are consistently vying for that Division II World Series in Cary. But before we get out of here, wanted to promote some of our upcoming content. When the season starts, um, throughout the week, we'll have our Pirate Baseball opponent preview, which is on deck. We'll also have each and every Sunday night this week in Pirate Baseball. We'll be joined by ESPN Plus color analyst Mike Mullis or someone to take a look back at the week that was for the Pirates. Also, this week, if you have not already seen it, we were, short a game because of a situation going on with Army and them having to back out of the Keith LeClaire Classic. But fortunately, Kent State needed a game and the dates aligned. So they will be the Friday opponent at the Keith LeClaire Classic, the 22nd annual, hard to believe, Keith LeClaire Classic taking place that final weekend of February. And that will be a 4:30 first pitch against the Golden Flashes. Congratulations to former first-round draft pick of the Toronto Blue Jays, Jeff Hoffman. Jeff had pitched, with the Colorado Rockies, the Cincinnati Reds, most recently, excellent couple years, with the Philadelphia Phillies. A lot of Phillies fans heartbroken that Jeff was not re-signed. Toronto, however, signed him to a 3-year, $33 million deal. So once again, congratulations to former Pirate ace and first-round draft pick Jeff Hoffman on that recent deal with the Blue Jays. So he joins Trey Savage and also Carter Cunningham in that Toronto organization. Today we had the D1 Baseball Top 25 released. Not surprised the Pirates were not ranked, but at the same time, not concerned they're not ranked either. I expected it, given the losses, be it on the mound or positionally. But very excited about all the talent within the program and the potential for the Pirates here in 2025. But taking a look at that top 25, East Carolina will, of course, on that second weekend have the traveling series with the North Carolina Tar Heels. The Tar Heels are ranked 6th. The Pirates will also play midweek games against the Duke Blue Devils, or a midweek game against the Duke Blue Devils, and that will be on campus in Durham. And Chris Pollard's club is ranked 11th. NC State, Elliott A. Vince Wolfpack, and come in at number 13, and the Pirates will play them at Doak Field as well as at Clark LeClaire Stadium. And then last but certainly not least, folks, if you're not already a member of the 23 Club, and go to 23club.org. It is East Carolina's NIL collective for baseball. A lot of folks have joined. I know things have been going very well there. According to my recent conversations with Mike Harrington, one of Cliff Godwin's former teammates. But if you're not already a member, go to 23club.org and support the program. And as Cliff Godwin tells these guys when they are being recruited, it's not a situation in East Carolina right now, where you're going to be getting rich, but at the same time, you can cover costs, and it can really make a difference in separating the Pirates from the competition, when we're looking to land those top recruits, in addition to all the other excellent aspects of the East Carolina baseball program, be it the fan base and obviously all the on-field success. But that will do it for this 10th edition of Jungle Tales. And be sure to follow us on social media at Jungle Tales Pod on X and Instagram, and then subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll also be broadcasting live to Facebook beginning probably early to mid-March. And then also you can listen to the show on Spotify, and we're looking to get it set up where folks can listen on Apple Podcasts as well. I saw Ben, do you have something else to say? I saw you unmuted yourself.
No, not at all. Just wanted to continue to thank you, and it's a great opportunity, like I said, to listen to you guys, to keep you guys up to date, with what I'm doing, and it's awesome to seeing what you guys are doing too with former Pirate baseball players as well. So thanks again for having me on, Bubba. I really appreciate it, man.
No doubt. And one of the things that you'll have to look forward to in the future when you have the chance around your coaching schedule, if the Pirates are playing in the postseason, hosting a regional or super regional, you'll have that beautiful new addition, probably for certainly the 2027 season, if not 2026, that you see there, and then
That's awesome.
that artist rendering of the new Clark LeClaire Stadium. And the plan is to break ground shortly following the conclusion of 2025.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The 2025 season, of course. So probably by June or July, there'll be bulldozers there, shovels will be in the ground, and dirt will be being moved to a long overdue addition to Clark LeClaire, and the atmosphere will become all the better. But for former East Carolina reliever Ben Terwilliger, I'm Bubba Rosenbaum. You've been watching and listening to Jungle Tales. We'll talk to you soon, and as always, go Pirates.